All right, what's up, guys? This is Ty Zen. We're broadcasting from New York City here, and with us we have some special members from the Gladius.io team, right? Hello, Max. Say hello.
Hi,
right?
Max.
The CEO and co-founder of Gladius, right? And Jim. Say hello, Jim.
Hello, everyone.
Right? Jim's the chief strategist for the Gladius project, and we also got David here,
Guys.
Right? You know, one of the co-founders of cryptocurrency.market website, right? And myself, Ty Zen, the awesome dude. Whatever that means.
All around good guy.
All around good guy, yeah. All right. So in this video, guys, we want to talk about the business and the long-term strategy side with Jim and with Max about the Gladius project, right? So one of the things that, you know, I come from a mindset where when our team looks at a project that we're interested in, one of the things that we always look at is how are they going to get users and who's going to use their software, right? Because you can build the most amazing software in the world, but no one's using it, or no companies or no business is using it, right? Then who knows that it's the most amazing software in the world, right? So could you start off, because off camera last night at dinner, you shared some really powerful ideas that our team was not aware of. Because first of all, talk about your background, because you know that's the first thing everybody on our show wants to know is who are you and why should we listen? Okay, so what's your background?
So I'm definitely not 21 or 22 like these guys. I have a little bit more experience. I've actually been in technology for about 20 years. I started off in the DoD. Was there for just over 7 years.
Okay, so for the people that are listening that are outside the U.S., what's the DoD?
Department of Defense. So I was part of the United States Navy, and I was in technology for the last few years that I happened to be there, which coincided with all the Y2K initiatives and things along those lines.
Okay,
so you protected the United States from technology kind of attacks, is that right?
So I mean, in that case, we were doing a lot of redevelopment of applications, if you will, to overcome the last 2 digits, because people would think that, you know, after you went from 1999 and we hit 2000, it would roll back to, you know, maybe 1900, right? But inevitably, I think we did a lot of upgrading of infrastructure, a lot of upgrading of our networks, and a lot of upgrading of the applications, and we luckily overcame a lot of the issues that we were expecting. Right? Okay,
so you have a tech background.
I do, and after that I did startups. I've been acquired, and then I worked at Goldman Sachs for about 6 years, and then I worked for Sienna, which is a telecom infrastructure company. You know, really focused on as part of the government advisory board. I ran strategy and business development, and before that, I actually ran all of our systems engineering and customer operations teams.
That sounds very techy.
Yeah.
That's much more techy than us. Okay, so but it is. I mean, like, I'm over here sitting my mom and I'm like, yeah, wow, like, this is a smart dude. Okay, so here's one of the keys to success, guys. Right? Always look for people who are smarter than you. Okay, if you're the smartest dude or the smartest chick, you know, in your group, you're not going to go very far. You want people around you that are significantly smarter. Okay, you know, when they're talking like these guys here, and your eyes are like this, like, can this be for real? Those are the people that you want to associate yourself with. Okay, so anyways, so you were sharing like there's like 3 or 4 like major themes, problem solutions that the Gladius technology is solving that got you interested in this. Because you've been in this technology longer than any of these 19, 20-year-old guys that are building the stuff, right? And so you saw something. Can you share that with our audience here?
Yeah, I mean, so you know, to start, and I think hopefully you guys all saw this in the previous session, and when you start looking at a founding team, I mean, the qualities that you're looking for are passion, perseverance, intelligence, integrity, you know, and a great work ethic. I think if you sat through the last panel session, you probably heard and saw all of that from the guys that were sitting here, right? So that's an immediate draw. Then you couple that with an extremely large, you know, multi-billion-dollar market that serves a significant problem that exists today, and it's very easy to gravitate towards something along these lines. Now, if you step back and you look at trends, as traders, I'm sure you guys love the trends, and you want to follow
the trend is our friend.
The trend is your friend, right?
Yeah.
Until the end. But
don't go against the trend.
Inevitably, there's 4 key things that I was looking at, which really drew me into this particular project. The first one is there's this transition taking place in the technology domain that moving from hardware-based platforms and products to software-based platforms and products. And if you look at what's happening in like the tier 1 service provider space, the data center space.
Can you give an example so the audience can understand what that means?
So instead of people buying an appliance that really only does one specific application, like a firewall as an example, really the industry is moving to hardware-based platforms that are commoditized, which you can load more than one service on top of with software. So the beauty of this particular effort is that it's a software-focused solution that could be loaded onto any piece of commoditized hardware, and it's multi-platform, as they talked about earlier. So whether you have server infrastructure, even desktop compute infrastructure, it doesn't matter if it's on Linux or if it's on Microsoft or it's on Apple, anybody can participate. And that's really, really important because they're not locking themselves to any one hardware architecture. So it really expands their ability to address the market. So that's really one that's great. The second one is really the trend of what they were talking about earlier about centralized solutions versus decentralized solutions. And really what winds up happening here as we look at what they're doing and the ability to scale horizontally is super, super important. So instead of having one centralized fabric or centralized solution that could potentially be overwhelmed because you're limited or constrained by those resources that are centralized, it provides people to even complement the centralized solution with something that is more distributed and can help move flows in different directions and to accommodate and mitigate larger scale attacks. So it basically creates a much larger surface area. And it should be a big incentive for people who have websites because it will reduce their costs, right? And it should really incent people to participate because they're basically, if you look at the sharing economy, which is the third one, where you guys alluded to it earlier actually. It's like, if you look at Airbnb, they're the biggest hotel chain in the world, but they own no hotels. If you look at like Uber, it's the biggest taxi company in the world. They don't own a single taxi. If you're looking to mitigate a large-scale attack and you need lots and lots of compute resources, wouldn't it be great for you guys to be able to monetize all that compute power and all of that bandwidth that you guys have at your home? So you get to partake in actually helping a company mitigate the distributed denial of service attack while simultaneously being able to monetize it by leveraging some spare assets that you have that are available. And then clearly the fourth one is really the combination of cybersecurity and the blockchain. Cybersecurity is not going away. These attacks are persistent. They keep happening. I think we had it up on the board behind us where you see these things kind of taking place. There's nothing that's telling anyone that these attacks are going to slow down or stop. And they're more and more impactful. And up until maybe a year or two ago, most of these conversations stayed within my IT department or stayed with the technical folks. Now you have folks like the NACD who are basically talking to boards of directors of every company, large and small, and even have like cyber risk oversight programs.
And what is the NACD?
Yeah, what's that?
It's the National Association of Corporate Directors, which is here in the United States. And these are folks that have a lot of experience on boards and actually go out and will consult for other boards. With many board members of large-scale companies belong to the NACD and could be like a board leadership fellow or something along those lines. And within the past year and a half, they've launched a program designed all around cyber risk oversight. It's been such a big impact to all of their organizations. So, I mean, now when you go walk in there and you have we're a company that focuses on cybersecurity and we're going to help try and mitigate some of the risks that you have as a business, you now have your boardroom folks and you have your C-level executives that actually are entertaining these discussions, which they hadn't done previously.
Could you, would it be possible, if it's confidential with your team, it's okay if you don't share it with us, but would you be available to share some of the companies that have an interest in Gladius that you guys have personally discussed with?
So there's no public companies right now that I think we're willing to truly disclose unless Max wants to go otherwise. But I think inevitably there's a number of different types of organizations, all of which suffer these sorts of attacks and are looking for mitigation techniques. But you can have a tier 1 service provider anywhere in the world who basically has a hosting group and also has to mitigate denial of service attacks via like managed security offerings.
So when you say tier 1 service provider, is there like a tier 2, tier 3, tier 0?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a tier 0, but you do have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. That's just based on the sheer volume of folks that they serve, right? So a tier 1 operator would be somebody like an AT&T or a Verizon or a Central,
those are huge companies.
Or a British Telecom or an NTT. I mean, these are massive organizations, right? And
typically
typically
provide internet service to customers. So
and not only do they do that, they'll also offer internet services to enterprise customers, and they'll also offer them like managed security services and offerings to help protect them as well, right? So these are folks that would definitively be interested in looking at alternative ways to also mitigate, these sorts of attacks.
So my first thought is a company like AT&T or British Telecom, these are like gazillion-dollar companies, right?
Yeah.
Why don't they just go and look for the solution, the blockchain solution themselves, right?
Yeah.
So what's prompting them to come look at, Gladius, or I'm not saying they are,
Sure.
but like, what would make them even consider a startup like Gladius?
Sure. I mean, if you look at what their business model is to provide secure connectivity to enterprises all across the globe. So they're constantly evaluating new technologies to make sure that they're offering the best service that they possibly can to their end customer, right? So they may have one of our competitors that are in play today, but they're also always looking and surveying the environment to see if there's something more unique that's out there that can help them innovate faster, right? As well as provide a better service.
Okay, so a technology like Gladius would actually give them a business competitive edge, and it's not competing against them.
No, it wouldn't be competing against them. I mean, it would be something that's just another arrow in their quiver. When they go out and talk to other companies and say, look, we can offer you a solution that looks like this, or a solution that looks like this, or even these can be created in a complementary way. And you can upsell your enterprise, if you will, on a more enhanced security related service to mitigate the malware services.
So today, these big companies, do they already work with other CDNs and these types of providers?
So one of the beautiful things about this particular company right now is that you'll see other players that are in the space that are addressing a problem that maybe folks aren't typically used to paying for, or they're basically searching for a problem to solve, if you will. In this case, people are already used to paying to mitigate distributed denial of service attacks. They actually have to keep their own networks running, to keep their own resources up, and to keep delivering their own services. So we're not asking somebody, or anybody for that matter, to pay for something new. They're already used to actually paying for services along these lines, and the fact that we're going to help them reduce their costs is really important for them. And also we're opening up opportunities for other people to actually generate more revenue by becoming nodes or actually running their own pools. So, I mean, for us, we think it's a really big opportunity to reduce costs for people who are serving content or who have websites, right? But we're also looking at opportunities to basically create markets for people who want to create their own pools and to add nodes and to generate new revenue in a way that they have idle assets that are laying out there that aren't being utilized. Well, use them and we'll help you pay them off, right?
Okay.
Yeah, in that earlier session when we talked about underserved areas like Australia, they might not even have any kind of service right now, not even tier 5.
Sure, I mean, they'll have services, but I mean, maybe it doesn't meet the performance expectations that they wind up having today, and we're just looking to make sure that we can offer everyone a really great solution, right, and give plenty of people opportunity to join in and help.
So speaking of help, right, you're coming on, starting in a few weeks here, you're coming on to the Gladius team permanently as their chief strategist. What are your goals in helping Gladius, or what is the help that you're providing to Gladius, and what do you see coming up in 2014 with your efforts and stuff?
Well, 2014
I mean, not 2014, 2018. My bad. 2014 is when we started our channel and everything. So.
Yeah. I mean, so I originally started as being an early contributor to the project, right? And from there, I moved into an advisory role to kind of help out.
Yeah.
Our relationships all kind of grew together, and then I went up going on the fundraising tour with Alex last week, all through Europe. Then we came back and we're starting these efforts this week. Talking with you guys, we have a couple of potential customers we're talking to this week, and I think we just got to a point where we thought that maybe we should move forward and do a little bit more. So I'm basically just complementing the team with a lot of history, a lot of background in the space, and a lot of contacts to help leverage get into what I believe are the right customer base to help the team grow. And for me specifically for 2018, I think there's been a lot of development, and I think I'm really excited that we already have an alpha product by the March timeframe. We're going to have the next release that's coming out. We'll be ready to go hit like proof of concepts and labs and things along those lines. I really expect that 2018 is going to be a big year for us.
Okay. So I know this might be biased, right? Because you like the Gladius project and everything. And you talked about why you like the guys that are working on it. Talk a little bit about what was your first impression when you heard about the Gladius project and you saw it. What was your first impression?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that in a lot of cases, there's clearly a lot of hype in the last 6 to 9 months around blockchain, right? Or just people following Bitcoin or what have you, right?
Yeah. So based on that thought, just based on that thought, with all the buzz about blockchains and stuff, what made you zero in on Gladius?
So it's a unique application that, I mean, really it's them leveraging the blockchain to fight distributed denial of service attacks.
Yeah.
It is a huge, huge problem, and no one has addressed it leveraging the blockchain. And I think not only has no one leveraged it, leveraging blockchain technology, but the way in which they're using it to create a distributed environment to mitigate these sorts of attacks has also not been done. And also, I don't think there's anybody that's out here right now that's been able to participate in a pool and actually be able to monetize a lot of these attacks that are taking place, right? So it offers a really, really cool opportunity for the average person to get involved with a very large problem, to basically monetize some of their excess assets. And I'm looking forward to solving a really, really big problem. And I think that's the passion that you're going to wind up seeing from all the guys. It's a big problem that we have the ability to go out there and address.
So we talked about all the wonderful things, and I met the team, a bunch of great guys. What do you see as the biggest challenges to getting where you want to be?
Yeah, I think for some of the folks that are slightly older, they may believe that, well, okay, this is a big bubble and blockchain has been here, or hey, we're just in this big hype cycle or something along those lines, and it's a couple young kids. But I think once you really see what the development looks like, you get an idea of what the application can do. It's just overcoming those initial barriers of people being able to say, well, this is just hype. 1, 2 is like, okay, how could they really have created this in such a short period of time when there's these companies that have been around for a long time, they've been working on these things for years, right? But there's all sorts of cultural inertia that kind of exists in companies that have been around for a long time, maybe hesitant to adopt the blockchain-related technology that could potentially cannibalize what they're doing today, right? So I think this is just a perfect intersection of the blockchain, if you will, cybersecurity, the transition really to distributed, and really the move toward the sharing economy.
So like for the businesses and in the businesses out there that are watching this, what would you say are the ideal businesses or the users or the websites that would benefit massively from Gladius?
Yeah, I mean, I think from just a general user, so people who provide managed security services, you'd probably see like tier 1 operators, like I mentioned earlier, the AT&Ts, the BTs, the NTTs, folks along those lines. Also, folks who have large-scale data centers, right? Whether it be a CyrusOne or whether it be an Equinix or somebody else along those lines. But you also have large-scale enterprises, whether they happen to be in financial services, whether they happen to be in pharmaceutical or healthcare or anything else along those lines. We've even had folks reach out basically to us that have been hit with distributed denial of service attacks, saying, "Hey, look, Gladius could help you." Right?
Okay. Now, there's one place that for David and I, because we're a trading channel, right? There's one type of business that could massively benefit from something like the Gladius technology, and that's all these exchanges out there.
Absolutely.
So we use like all the popular exchanges, like Coinbase, like Poloniex, Bittrex, all these major exchanges, right? Even the ones that we haven't used yet, they get hit with denial of service attacks almost on a daily basis, like that.
Yesterday.
Yeah, they're always tweeting out, and it's like, it's one of the most nagging and nasty problems in the cryptocurrency space, right? For the traders and the investors out there, because every time they try to log into their account or something, now I think Poloniex, every time I log into it, there's like a window that pops up and it makes you re-log in the second time, right? And I understand that, I want them to use the best security, the best defense as possible, but I'm just thinking like, there's got to be a cost to this.
There absolutely is. In a lot of cases, it's building up a lot more infrastructure. You guys touched on it really briefly about power, space, and cooling, right? But there's also the physical assets, whether they happen to be the servers or the routers. There's a whole slew of different networking equipment that needs to be used. not only can we help them to offset or mitigate some of these attacks, we can help them do it a lot less expensively, because people could join the pools that could help them and be leveraging their resources to help mitigate some of these attacks. So, I mean, the large markets that are out there are already reaching out to us specifically for this, because they know that, well, we're in their space, one, right, so we're friendlies, and two, we're going to have a service that they can wind up leveraging that's going to help them to offset problems with traders not being able to trade, not being able to...
Yeah, because that costs them a ton of money when traders can't get on to
every time you take a trade, or every time that's all transaction fees that they're losing, right, by definition, right? So there's definitely a place for us, and we're getting warm welcomes.
Okay, so let's just say that because you guys are a blockchain project, and there's a bunch of exchanges out there that can benefit from this, and when they hear about Gladius technology being able to reduce their DDoS attacks and increase their website load, and reduce their costs and everything, they're probably going to search online and probably see this video with you guys in it. What do you have to say to them right now, if they are watching this video in the future, to learn how the Gladius technology can help their exchange website?
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah, definitely. So exchange is high. So DDoS attacks are a huge problem, as you know, and current solutions can cost thousands of dollars. With Gladius, you're not paying for insurance for these attacks. You're paying for the actual protection you need. So any other time you're not being hit, your costs are much, much lower than they would be with another current DDoS mitigation provider. So,
are you saying like compared to like Cloudflare or Akamai or Amazon?
Some of our competitors, yeah. So first off, our prices are much cheaper. So it's kind of a no-brainer. But also two, since we are decentralized and we're using the blockchain, our platform itself is much more resilient to these attacks. So if one of our pools goes down, all the others still exist.
So will your system, like will the Gladius technology automatically shift to a different pool right away automatically?
Yeah, so websites can have multiple pools protecting them. So if you're a huge website, you can have a huge list of pools, and so if one fails, you still have a list of backups.
Did I hear that right? So you would really only pay for whatever you need, so if you aren't getting,
Yeah, exactly.
attacked.
Yeah, if you don't have much traffic and you're not getting attacked at any time, your costs could be pennies a month. But
the Gladius network is there when they do get attacked.
Exactly, yeah. So we have the flexibility. So if you're getting low volumes of traffic for the most part, you can handle that easily and affordably. But if you get hit by a huge attack and spikes, easily transferable to that.
Well, them hackers that are trying to DDoS all these exchanges, when they hear about you guys, they're not gonna like that.
No, but they've actually.
They're not gonna like that you guys are there to fend off these guys, right? So if the people from the exchanges or anybody like that are listening to this, right? Because the businesses that are not blockchain based, they may not get blockchain.
Yeah.
But like the exchanges out there, they are like, you don't have to explain to them what blockchains are, right? So if they are interested in this, who's the best contact person to get a hold of, talk to, best place to find out?
Yeah.
About how they can use Gladius.
Definitely. So if you just want to learn generally about Gladius, gladius.io. If you want to reach out to one of us, we have our Telegram channel, which all of us are very active on, which you can find on our website. But we also have a support email and contact email, contact@gladius.io. So if you want to start conversations or continue conversations, just reach out to there, and one of us will definitely respond.
And you guys be able to help them technically set it up so that they can
exactly
see that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. All right. So are there any misconceptions about Gladius that you guys want to clear up on the tech side or on the business side?
Where have any really misconceptions? But if you know one, let me know.
Like
get off right now.
Or on the Telegram, do you guys get questions consistently about misunderstandings about the project that you guys want to clear up while we're on video? No? They're very clear?
For the most part, we're releasing a technical white paper very soon, just having our designers finish up on that. But for people who have a much more technical background, our current white paper doesn't really go in depth about that. So there's one coming, and hopefully by the time this video is released, they'll be out there too, fairly shortly. Yeah, if you want a much deeper dive into the technology, that's going to be available soon.
Okay, so like on the off camera, you had shared with us one of the partnerships that you guys had with one of really, should I say, top-notch software companies out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you can share publicly?
Yeah,
also?
there's a few. So there's a company called Snap Interactive.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of video distribution work, and they're a publicly traded company. And so actually, we met with them here in New York, and we've been talking a lot about ways we can work together, both them using our services and coming together and offer people a much better solution.
Okay. One of the things that if you guys can share this also, one of the things that really annoys me as a user, I'm not the tech guy like you guys are, right? I'm not one of those Asian guys that know math and science really well. So, but from a user's perspective, a lot of these blockchain projects, it's so annoying that it's not user friendly.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And you were gonna make I don't know
announcement, yeah.
Announcement, right? Exclusive announcement here. What are you guys doing to partner up with to handle the user experience?
Yeah. So
can you talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. So for the first time, I can talk about this, but we actually are partnering up with the team from MetaMask who did their UI to join us and create a really easy experience. So for people who are downloading our node clients, they aren't most technical savvy. So having a flow that, from download to next to making coins from giving your bandwidth away. They started work a few weeks ago, and they're helping us make sure that the node, the web portal, the entire package is really, really nice.
And what made you guys choose them? They're the ones who built the MetaMask. Can you explain what MetaMask is so that the audience knows?
Yeah, MetaMask is one of the largest ways of interacting with the blockchain. It's a Chrome extension, and it might be an extension for other browsers now too, but they probably have millions of downloads. They've also, this team has been, and the team's name is KyoCon, by the way, but they've been part of the Definity project too, and a few other big projects, and their work is really solid. There's 7 full-time people working on this.
So basically by teaming up with them, you guys are actually accelerating the development of the Gladius technology.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you guys are not like screwing around trying to take your time.
This drastically affects our timeline, and hopefully we'll have a bunch of updates coming up in the next month and beyond that.
So when you get your alpha out in March, these guys will also have a nice UI that people can play with?
Exactly. Yeah. So right now our alpha is usable, but a lot of the feedback we've been getting is that it's too technical, and yes, that is true. But these guys are going to be helping us so that anyone can use the software we're creating.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So let's take some questions from the audience. You guys have any questions? Yes.
So blockchain technology is unbreakable, right? But everything what you built on top is this. So how you protect your software not to be hackable, breakable?
Yeah. So
can you repeat the question?
So how do we 3 minutes, but yeah, so how do we protect our software from being hackable and breakable? And a huge part of that is that we are fully open source. So a lot of projects nowadays aren't, but by having all our code out there and allowing people to inspect it, there's a lot of people who are interested in contributing to these open source projects. And so if we have people who do have the capabilities to break it, there are probably the same number of people who are willing to contribute to this project and build it into something that is, sealed and protection proof.
Okay, right. And Alex mentioned earlier that there's a bug bounty.
Yeah. So a portion of our tokens that exist, we're going towards people who find huge issues in the software. So definitely incentivizing people to come aboard and help us out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, last question.
When you were talking about the exchanges and about the users having a particular incentive to have the company they're working with, the exchange website, protected, do you think that a person could specifically use their device to protect that particular website if they were interested? Can they somehow work that out?
So basically your question is, if let's say I use Poloniex exchange and I want to help assist them because I trade on there a lot and I want to help their exchange, can I dedicate my computer and my pool to help them specifically?
Can you somehow do that?
So, yeah, I mean, theoretically it's possible. So for an exchange like Bittrex, they can create their own pool and say, hey, if you want to specifically help us, we're the only site that's on this pool. So just join this pool and.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So each. Oh man, that's huge. That's huge.
We all know what schools are doing now.
Yeah. So basically, you should have mentioned that earlier. That's what the exchanges need to hear.
Yeah.
Is that if they want to reduce the attacks on their website, they take the Gladius technology, create the pool, and designate that, hey, contribute to this pool to help protect our site.
They can invite their customers to
yeah,
improve
users.
their own experience.
Yep. Nice. I like that.
Good question.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, if you're good, then well, thanks for joining us on this video broadcast, guys. If you guys want to learn more about the Gladius technology, you want to support it, you want to contribute to that project, there's the website behind Max right there, right? And if you guys like these types of boots on the ground type of research that we're doing, that our team is doing, make sure you guys go to www.cryptocurrency.market/newsletter and sign up to our newsletter there. And we'll see you guys in the next video, right?